right, let's get back on my bullshit. How's everybody doing this week? This is Sketch Weekly again. I'm Caliban Darklock, and if you've been around here for the past couple of weeks, then you know I've been working on a curtain call challenge with Gura, and obviously the curtain call challenge is like old news now. I mean, in internet time, it's like forever ago over, but I'm still working on it because it's a thing I want to do. And obviously, if you're watching this, you are watching it on YouTube because I haven't started the actual stream yet. And if you want to be actually in on the stream, then you need to jump up my Discord, which the link is in the doobly-doo down there. I'm just taking my my pills for the day, my vitamins, my zinc, magnesium, aspartate, and my my estrogen blocker. Preservation of maleness in advanced age. Anyway, since you're watching this on YouTube, do the little YouTube dance. Like, comment, subscribe, give me a little thumbs up, hit the little bell icon, whatever the fuck, you know, just like decide whether you want to see a bunch more of this. And of course you do. You do want to see a bunch more of this. Everybody wants to see more of this. So I'm working on this curtain call challenge with Gura. And you can see here that I've got some work that I've done on the faces, and then there's additional, like, rough work, I think, has been done on, well, that's awful. I think this is where, yeah, I got some intermediates there that are in somewhat better shape. But everything's still very rough, and I was working on that for a while, and then I was also working on, a couple of weeks ago, I turned around and started concentrating on hair and trying to get the hair right, which I didn't really do. I mean, I did okay. And then last week I concentrated on getting some colors and kind of doing the face, and, you know, we're doing okay. But the thing is, I've been working on nothing but Gura for like a month. So because of that, well, I should really start up the stream. And I'll kind of get into that once I get on here. I'm going to jump down here into the voice chat channel. And I'm going to pop up the screen share. And I'm going to scroll down and pick my little preview. And apparently nobody can be arsed to join anyway, so no big deal. I don't have to explain all of that again. So anyway, I've been working on drawing Gura for the past month, and the thing is, if there's one thing that I'm highly educated and experienced and trained in, it is the process of teaching and learning. And Discord doesn't want to get my list of windows for some reason. I don't know why. Doesn't seem to be anything wrong over on my end. Let me shut down some stuff and see if that makes a difference. Close a few windows, because I would like to be up and running and live, just in case somebody does show up. And man, it is very confused. It's very confused and not coming up with an option for me to share my screen. I've had this before, and I never did figure out what was causing it. I will just let that sit for a while and not worry overly about it. But anywho, as you can see here, I've got all of this Gura stuff that's up, but having worked on Gura for a month, the way that you learn stuff is that your brain kind of takes the area that all of the stuff you're working in is supposed to be stored, which is typically an area where things are related, and it makes physical changes to the brain material in that area to connect between the neurons through synaptic connections. And as you build those connections, the brain just kind of goes, okay, there's a connection. We need this connection and this connection and this connection. But it only builds these little temporary connections. And if you spend too long in there building bunches of connections, it never calms down enough to go, okay, let's figure out which of these connections really work and kind of sort through them and make sure we get them in good shape. So because of that, you end up with all these short connections, which is why you can go and you can take a class in something and you feel like you know everything because you've got all these short little temporary connections in there. But then you go off for like 2 weeks and suddenly your brain doesn't remember shit after a month. And you come back and you're like, fuck, I don't remember anything. I can't recall any of the stuff that I learned. How does that happen? And how it happens is you're not using anything related to the stuff you learn. Like you get these people that go, they'll do an intensive language course for like 30 days and they'll learn like Japanese or German or whatever. And then they'll go, all right, I know this new language. And then they'll go off and not speak that language or not read that language and not interact in any way with that language for a month. And your brain's going, well, how much of these temporary connections do we need? And it looks at what you're doing for a while and goes, we don't need any of them. And now you can't access that stuff easily. It's still in there. You just have to rebuild those connections. You just have to convince your brain that the connections matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little step away from Gura, because I've been working in this anime style and I've been working on specific stuff around faces and hair and, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to step away from that so I can concentrate on something else. And what I'm going to kind of do is I'm going to back up a whole bunch and I'm going to go to a kind of a Western comic booky style. And what we have here is we have a whole bunch of 2000 AD artwork, which is a British magazine that was a huge part of why I wanted to like draw and do art when I was a kid. Because back when I was like 10 years old, I came across 2000 AD and Judge Dredd, and that's around the same time that the Dark Judges became part of this. I'm going to go ahead and reboot Discord. The recording will be fine, but my Discord buddies will be like, where the fuck is he? He's supposed to be streaming. Yeah, they'll get over it. It'll be fine. But the Dark Judges were just fascinating to me, and because the comics were all in black and white, it was something that I could use to practice my various, and let's see, has it already got me? Oh, it's put me right back in voice chat. Awesome. And because it was in black and white, it was something that I could work on. There we go. It's something that I could work on using just pen and paper. And I didn't have to worry about color or anything like that, because I'm not good with color. And because all of this is very heavily inked, and it's not penciled and shaded and that kind of stuff, because it's all very much inked. If you zoom in on some of this stuff, like if we take this panorama here, and I'm gonna drag that up to the top of the, there. Well, let me turn off the front cover. If you scroll inward, you can see that all of the shading is done with cross hatching. There's not a lot of zipatone cutting. There's a little. You've got a kind of a gray tone in here, but most of it is just with cross hatching, and that was really useful for actually building something up with nothing but pencil on notebook paper, which is what I was doing at school when I was supposed to be doing maths, because, you know, who the fuck has time for that shit? And and because these comics were very useful for me to work with, I spent a lot of time drawing the stuff that was in them, and I just thought I would take a step back to them and just go, let's use this as some subjects and talk about some of the subject matter here, because this is where I've learned pretty much everything I've ever learned about how to draw hands. And I'm not great at drawing hands, but holy crap, were these drawings instrumental in teaching me what I do know about drawing them. Because it's just, if you look at this, if we scroll in on this bit right here, you can see that you've got the side view of the thumb here and the way that the shadows fall, and there's the same kind of, here's the pull up a brush and we'll click over to a vector line or vector sketch layer. We're on the right thing. Yep. Okay, and we're okay. Let's not be that big. Okay, but it's like right here. You can see that we've got. Good idea if we actually use black. But right here, you can see that we've got the shape of that finger, and here's this big sweeping fingernail that comes down, and all of the shading, and the way the shading was done on all of this, the way everything was outlined. I drew so many hands like this with these kind of big, beefy knuckles and the big, wide, strong structures. And down in here, you can't really see this, but you've got that. This is what they call the thenar prominence right here, and you can't really see very well at this point, but over here, you've got the palm of the hand right there, and you get the other side, and then right here you've got what they call the hypothenar plateau on the other side, and this kind of, the index finger operates almost independently of the other three fingers. And what you also find is that as you look at hand poses, you find that the ring finger locks in either with the middle finger or with the little finger, depending on which kind of pose you're looking at, and depending on the individual hand position you're looking at. But these big, prominent knuckles were like a major feature of my work back in those days, and in the same way, the one thing that I didn't like about this style is you look and there's no musculature on the dark judges. There's like next to nothing. There's a lot of wrinkling though here, and this I think will be really useful to kind of take a look at. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to take a closer look at all of this and do some sketching around these kind of subjects. And you've got this round helmet, and you've got all of the little detail. You've got the little portcullis here and the bars. And when you zoom in on this, you can see, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it here, but you can see that there's some depth between the front of this and these next bars. So it's not just like the front and then the bars. It's the front and then the bars are farther back. So there's actually some substance there. So the bars are a little bit farther back from the front, and you've got that back ridge back there that goes behind them. And that was really important. And then you've got the little rivets that go all the way across. There's one at the top of each bar, and so on and so forth. And all of this was just really kind of, there was a lot of stuff that I learned from looking at 2000 AD and looking at this kind of artwork and seeing like how that was drawn. And that's really where a lot of this, I mean, I kind of divide art up into three segments. And those three segments are, first you need to know what lines need to be drawn. For example, you zoom in on this hand right here. Let's take all of that reference, we'll put it away, and we'll move this. We'll move that over there. We'll switch back to a brush and go back to the vector sketch. And the thing about Judge Death is you got this kind of big, meaty thumb, which right here you can kind of see from the side, but you can also draw it kind of head on if you stretch it out somewhat, and there'd be the bottom of the palm there. then as the hand stretches up, right here is where you'd get that first finger and the big nail stripping down from that. And then over here to the side, that comes off to the side, and then up here you see this kind of sweep. And you can see how the whole thing sweeps across. The whole top of the hand and the wrist sweeps across and over to here. And you've got the knuckles of the little finger, and then you've got the knuckles of the ring finger, and over here are the knuckles of the middle finger. And the middle finger kind of creeps over to the side. So you can see kind of the side of the ring finger there, and then you've got the little finger. And you see the middle finger is coming up a little bit more in that area. So you kind of put that together, and what you've got is this kind of structure for the hand. And if we turn off the color on it, let me do that. Then you can see in black, that's actually not a bad hand. You know, that's not a very bad representation of a hand, and it's got that kind of big sweeping look to it. We'll turn the red back on. But you get that same kind of big sweeping look, and then the foreshortened arm as it comes back, and you've got the big sort of elbow pad here. But all of that fits together around this core concept of that initial hand layout. And it's not very difficult to get like just what lines need to go there and where do the lines need to go. And then you kind of look into why do those lines need to go there? Why is it important for these lines to be in these places? And it's because of the anatomy, of course, duh, because that's how anatomy works. Anatomy goes, hey, different stuff is in different places. Hey, who would have thunk, right? And then you got your little buckle right there. And you can see here that the elbow pads he's wearing are actually additional hands. They're additional hands that are coming down and gripping the elbows. So I always thought that was really cool. And you've got all of this stuff. You got all of this detail on all of them. That's just. It's just amazing when you really look at it, when you really look over all of it. And he's got the big pterodactyl on his shoulder, and he's got the bones coming across on the shield over here. And then the mouth is also a very interesting kind of thing because it's very wide. The teeth are all very flat. There are no canines in Judge Death's mouth. And typically you would expect that they'd give him like really big, prominent canines, but they just gave him plain old teeth, you know? They just gave him plain old flat teeth. There's almost no differentiation between the teeth. Now, of course, being really big into vampires and that kind of shit when I was a kid, you know, obviously I put big old canines on my Judge Death pictures. And that's another fun thing to go through and work out. Like on the top, you've got these two teeth in the middle right there, and you've got two teeth on either side, and then this is where the canines are. And then down on the bottom, you have an extra tooth. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that one's a regular tooth. That one's a regular tooth. And then here is where the canines are down on the bottom. So down on the bottom, they sit a little bit outside. And if you'll recall, around the same time, we had a movie that came out called The Lost Boys. And The Lost Boys actually did the vampire fangs a little bit differently. Because rather than just having big long, sharp bits here. They were not quite as long, but they connected in to the next tooth. So there was kind of there was a double fang situation there. And that was the style that was popular, both for drawing and for getting cosmetic fangs to wear to conventions at the time. That little Lost Boys style fang. It's very popular, very very cool, very emo and goth and all that shit. No disrespect to emos and goths. I was one. Still am one, really. But going over this stuff and looking at how this was done, the other thing that I spent a lot of time on was Judge Mortis, whose head is a sheep skull. And I spent a lot of time on that because that's like, you've got this little bit right there, and you've got the broken snout there, and that broken snout expands downward, and you've got upward here, you've got a little kind of ridge of bone there. That comes up, and then you've got this little bit, and that sweeps outward, and you've got your eye socket there, and it has a kind of a tail that sweeps inward. And putting all of that together, drawing that was, this was very popular with the kind of people I thought were cool at the time. And still think are cool, honestly. I have drawn this so many times, oh my god. But just getting that whole thing in and recognizing that this side is in shadow over here. And building that kind of setup and shape. It's just a question of knowing where things need to go and why they need to go there. So you don't have to be an expert. I was certainly no expert in anatomy when I started drawing this, any more than I did when I started drawing human skulls for like punk album covers and that kind of thing. But just putting these pieces together and having that general structure, it's not that difficult. But you can see here I've got a number of issues compared to the original, where it's just like the top of the skull isn't all that well defined, and the angles and sizes are really not very well done. And you can see in there, and this is not a very high resolution picture either. But if we go through and trace along this, you can see that there's a dramatic difference in the original and in my freehand copy. But you can also see that they're close. It gets the message across. I was never interested in exactly copying what I looked at, but in getting a reasonable facsimile that would read to the viewer. That's what matters. That's what I always thought mattered anyway, was getting something that people could tell what you were trying to draw. If people could tell what the thing you're drawing was, I figured that way, you know, that's what you're going for as an artist. That's what you're trying to. It's what you're trying to make happen. Is you're trying to draw a thing and then show it to somebody and have them go, "Oh, I know what that is." And people may not know this is specifically a sheep skull, but at the very least, they know it's an animal skull, and they're like, "Ugh, that's fucking creepy. What are you doing drawing that shit?" But backing out from this, and you can see how small that is in comparison to where I've been working up till now, and that's why all the various tools. That's why the pen strokes are so messed up and pixelated. You got Judge Fire and Judge Fear. Neither of them really interested me. I don't know. Judge Fire kind of holds some interest. But it's just, I never really found them that compelling. I was mostly interested in Death and Mortis were the ones that I found interesting. I love the skeletal pterodactyl on Mortis's shoulder and the kind of rib cage thing he's got off to the side there. But yeah, these are things that I spent a lot of time looking at and working on in study hall and math class and English class and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to spend some time working with that sort of stuff instead of just continuing to work on more and more Gura stuff. So that's kind of the direction I'm trying to go here. And I've got all of this reference that I pulled up, and a lot of it is hand related. But you can see here, some of it is, I really like the lighting on this bit right here. I really like the extreme lighting where you can only see just the minimal details. But this hand right here is also really good. So I wanted to take a look at that. And here again, we've got a Mortis with his mouth open, which is creepy and messed up. And here we've got a kind of close-up shot of kind of a grasping claw hand from Judge Death. And then over to the side, we've got Judge Fear with his hand up in kind of a claw motion. Of course, Judge Mortis has his hand down here, kind of relaxed, but this kind of relaxed claw position, that's another thing that interests me. A lot of this is hand-related, because it's just when you look at them, the hands are so well done. They're big and fat and chunky and detailed, and there's so much intricacy in the poses. You look at how both of these hands are done. And you look at how Judge Mortis has his hands down here. Once again, you see the forefinger operating on its own, the other three fingers locked together. Here you've got Judge Fear with his hands up in front of his face. And here you've got Judge Fire with his hands largely concealed by the fire, because he's on fire. Yeah, that's why they call him that. They call him Judge Fire because he's on fire. And let's see, if we let me pop this open, and you can see right here we've got another really, really good hand pose. You see the first and middle fingers are kind of locked together, and then you've got the ring and little fingers just kind of splaying out. So it's kind of like these three are splaying out, and this one is kind of pressed up against them. Right there. Even this picture on the throne, you know, that's got the kind of two-finger pointing thing going on. And it's got that crossover of the fingers, where two of the fingers are folded down, and you've got the side of the thumb, and all of that. So all that's really interesting, and all that's really some stuff that I want to take a look at. And then we've got some other stuff in here. We've got a whole bunch of just Judge Death holding his hands in various positions, because it's so well done. Here he is pointing off into the distance, and over here we've got him pointing with two fingers, and here's Judge Mortis again. Here we've got him, okay, this is here we've got a good position for a hand, and over here we've got another one. We've got these hands here, and then there's, God, what else do we have? We got one down here. Let's see. This one is interesting because you've got Judge Morty's wrapping his hands around a guy's head, and he's poking his fingers through the eyeballs from the back, which is kind of cool. We've got what have we got here? Hey, we got a bunch of stuff that's just like hidden back behind things. Yeah, here we go. We've got kind of a we've got sort of a reversed situation with the hands. Look at the detail on this. How this hand is kind of reaching upward and curling around, and this hand is curled into a claw. He does a lot of that claw curl. And we got another one under here, so here you got a better look at all the detail on this one. And this one's also got color to it, which is nice. There we go. So now you can see kind of this four fingers together a bit. And the one there. And here he is reaching forward, and there's all kinds of different hand positions here is what I've got. So so what I'm kind of working with on this is just sort of the foreshortening and the hands and all that sort of stuff. And I need to kind of figure out which of these I'm going to work with. I'm really kind of leaning in the direction of this one right here, I think. And this one right here. That one. No, not that one. Yeah, this one right here. Yeah. This is the one. Oh, hold on. What's the cancel? By transformation, no. Object. These are actually. Oh, that's a thing that I could bring up. I got these references into this image by dragging them directly into the layer palette. So let me kind of let me demonstrate that by kind of just jumping in here and pulling something in from a yeah, we'll pull something in from a folder. If I drag this over here, okay? Now if I wanted to take this reference from Makiose and drag it in here, I could actually drag it directly over to the layer palette. If I drag it up here, then it just opens it as a new file, like that. But that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to open it as reference, and I want to specify where in my layer palette that goes. So I can take that and I can say, yeah, we want to put this into my other folder. And you look at that, and I've got the other folder turned off, but when I turn it on, you can see that we've got Makiose, and it's added as an object. So the resolution stays. No matter how I transform it, it keeps the original quality, which is very useful. But I'm not going to keep that in there, so I'm just going to go ahead and trash that. We'll turn off the other, and we'll come over here. So this is going to be our major piece of reference here. I want to drag that up to the top there, and now I can turn that off. So I'm going to work just from this, and there's not going to be a whole lot of stuff here, but let me kind of clarify how all this is going to fit together. Now, here we've got one finger there, and that finger ends right about here, and we've got a long fingernail there. Here we have got a finger and a fingernail. Finger ends here, comes up to there, and then we've got that finger there, and the fingernail, and this finger here with the fingernail, and we've got the thumb stretched down over here and foreshortened somewhat. So we've got here the thenar prominence. Here is the hypothenar plateau. It comes up underneath of that. And then here underneath this is where we have the line of the palm there. The anatomy on this is a little bit off for effect because this finger being twisted like that, well, hold on, this is actually just at an angle. It's hard to see. So that comes around there. There's that, and then, yeah, so he's kind of stretching out, but it's very kind of cranked in there. It's very cranked down to the side, so the palm goes around like so. So we've got kind of the shape of the palm there, and then one finger, and then there's the other finger, and then this one comes down, and this one comes down. And then here is the thumb. And behind that you've got the arm. The arm is really very kind of shallow. So it's kind of pointing out everything sort of lines up with that. So we've got, okay. So the arm should really, okay. I want to have so there's the thumb, here's that, the edge of that. We've got little finger there. Little finger there. Everything's very exaggerated. On the dark judges. Right here, yeah. together right there, and we've got, there's a much wider space in there than I would normally expect. We've made the arm too wide. It should be about like that. Okay, I'm going to approach this a little bit differently because I'm going to come down here to my color layer. I'm going to thick up my brush a little bit. I'm going to try to rough in the shapes of things. It's just kind of a so let's go. So that's kind of how that fits together. Then we get some lighter values. We've got the back down to black there because we want to get the thumb down there. We've got kind of go a little bit more. There's some shading there. Okay, we went down a little brighter, so some shading there and there. I'm going to highlight that. Highlight that. So we got those little highlights there. Let's go back to black. There we go. So that gives us kind of a, well, there's also, there's sort of a thinner highlight and along the bottoms of the fingers there. So that kind of rim highlight there is doing a lot of work for the definition. All right, let's toss that. I'm gonna go, here's the arm right there. Here's the palm. Palm is sweeping over. There's the thumb. First finger, second finger, third, and fourth. Blacken that palm. Come here to our fingernails. Then from the fingernails, we're going to drop down to a light gray, and we're going to drop the size down again, and we're going to go, okay, here's some highlighting on the upper side where the actual light is coming from. And then we've got an even lighter highlighting underneath, just for definition. Some right there, we've got some lighting coming in there and shining in between the fingers. And of course we want a little weight underneath the nails. So that's kind of important. And then we need a little bit of highlighting around there. Maybe good definition there. No, we don't need that. Okay, so that's got some stuff going on there. So let's take a little bit closer look at how to let's think about this more from a line art perspective, and we want to. I don't really have room to work in there. Let me marquee this bad boy. And back. Okay. Okay. Color. Transform. Drag that down here. There we go. I'm going to whack enter. Deselect. Back to the vector line. And here we can go back to. Is it about the right place? This is about the right place. And then there, we've got that. That's gotta swoop down to the edge of the palm. That's a swoop down to the arm. And I've done a terrible job on this. So I'm trying to draw what I see and not think about what it is. And it's ended up not being a very good job because this, drag this over. See what I can do in terms of matching it up. Not a bad job. It ended up a little bit twisted. And that's not terrible. It does seem too wide. It is definitely too wide. So, can I? Let's see how close I can get. Some things around pretty close. So that looks about close as I can get it. And that angle right there, this angle right here needs to be opened up a bit. And that angle needs to come in. That needs to come in a little bit. That needs to be right there. And that's where that would go. That would fix some of it. And that does kind of crank in there. When we look at when we look at just the pieces and we just think about what are the parts we're dealing with here? And this really needs to be tilted. That's not the right angle for the thumb. The thumb is kind of, we've got the angle there, but then all of this is sort of head on. So we just kind of think about how the joints are fitting together there. And these are like way off, middle of nowhere. Okay. We're going to duplicate that layer. We're going to turn off the copy. We're going to delete the main line that we've got there. And now let's try this again. So we got there. the thumb, and the thumb is going to gateway in there. There's going to be a slightly different pose. This is the hypothenar plateau. And you look at how that fits together. We've got here, this kind of failure to fit everything into the appropriate space. So there's the rest of the palm, and the rest of the palm comes up, and it's kind of crunched in. So here is a knuckle, here's another knuckle, third knuckle, fourth knuckle, and fingers proceed out of those knuckles. It's exaggerated how long they are, but here just kind of lock that in there. It's kind of a long spidery thing that's going on. I like the sort of I like the spidery, creepy look of certain hand positions. That's interesting to me. It's interesting to have that kind of creepiness in the hands. There's always that kind of swoop as well. There's always that kind of sweeping shape to the hands where fingers kind of move in an arc. So you've always got this swoop here like that. I actually got a whole book on hands. I have this whole book on drawing dynamic hands by Hogarth. It goes into a whole lot of detail. I should probably spend some time working on this. In fact, that's what I'll probably do over the course of the week, is look a little bit more intensely at this and how all of these things fit together. That's what I need to worry about in the coming week. And then I'll talk a little bit more about hands in the next Sketch Weekly, because we're at the 1 hour mark now, and yeah, so I'll do some more work on hands over the course of the week, and see how that comes out. And then we'll come back and revisit this in the next Sketch Weekly, and I'll concentrate more fully on like actual hands and not just on, you know, let's look at some comic book pictures from 2000 AD. So anyway, do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the little thumbs up, hit the little bell icon, turn your notifications on, all of that shit. You know, they say it really helps out the channel, but it doesn't help out the channel. It helps you. It helps you tell YouTube what you want to see more of, because that's what YouTube is all about. People always complain that YouTube doesn't support creators enough, and what's really going on is creators are not making enough content that viewers want to see. If this is the content that you want to see, tell YouTube you want to see it. They'll put more content like this in front of you. And if I'm making the wrong content, hey, maybe I don't deserve more of an audience. That's how that works. Nobody wants to watch what you're doing. You don't get more people to watch it. But anyway, I'm going to bail off of this stream, and we're going to save this off. There's not really a whole lot to show off on Instagram this time around, is there? Yeah, I guess I could, well, let's, first of all, we'll save this off as, I don't know, we'll call this, Dark Judges. Dark Judges, there we go. And then we'll, screenshot this, and I think we'll grab about that much, and I'll take that, and I'll save it off as handwork.png, and we'll toss that up onto the gram. We'll run over there and do that, and we'll go into Instagram, and we'll add, select from computer, handwork.png. I would like this in the original aspect ratio. Next, next. Rough work, not very good. I'm going to spend some time Hogarth over the next week. Okay. And then I'll whack share, and then it'll go, hey, you shared it. And I'll go, yay, and I'll close the tab because I don't want to look at any of that. Okay, so that aside, that'll be that. Now I'll turn around and jump off of here and interact with my non-existent audience on on the Discord. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you dramatically. And okay, bye.